Hello, my name is Neil Weijer, and on behalf of our project team, thank you for joining me for a quick look at the Reimagining History project, a collaboration housed at Dartmouth College, with a few outliers, that's taking a close look at the long history of a very large manuscript corpus, the Middle English Prose Brut Chronicle. We're using the corpus as a way of examining where, when, and how we think about the data in and about manuscripts. The Brut is an anonymously authored history of England, which takes its name from Brutus, the mythical Trojan hero you see in the center of your screen. Brutus's status as a nation founder and destroyer of giants, also seen here, made him one of the most commonly encountered historical figures in medieval England. And in English, the Chronicle was the starting point for most people to learn about their history. But while the Brut Chronicle is old, the way we've come to know it is quite new, comparatively speaking. Beginning a century ago, efforts to edit and study the Chronicle produced a very big and very messy corpus of nearly 200 manuscripts that contained some version of the Middle English Brut. More continued to surface, and nobody could quite agree on how, or even whether, all of these manuscripts fit together as a category. What was an editorial headache for printed scholarship promised to be a goldmine of data for book historians, and especially fodder for the digital realm. In the early 2000s, a digital humanities project called Imagining History looked to map the manuscript data of the Brut corpus on a wiki platform and draw on collective experience to visualize the connections between the text and manuscripts of the Brut. Unfortunately, the product remained static upon completion in 2007, which meant that within a decade of its publication it had actually disappeared from the live web as the infrastructure around it changed. It also meant that this project couldn't contain new additions, like the copy of the Brut Chronicle that arrived at Dartmouth College in 2006. So, once Imagining History disappeared, we asked the project team if we could, recycle their data. As we scraped the data from the web and started looking through it, though, we realized that we needed a new model, both for the manuscript corpus and for the project itself. And over the last few years, as we've cleaned up the data, we've thought about its connections to previous scholarship, the physical manuscripts of the Brut, and the pieces of digitized or born digital information that have accrued to it since Imagining History was first published on the web. Our most important consideration quickly became, what exactly are we making? Can a dataset be a project on its own? How much of the history of the Brut manuscripts should someone be able to get from our data? What sort of interface should make it legible, and for whom? Finally, we want to know how sustainable the project could be. The scope and duration of our project aren't dictated by grants. How is that a limit and a benefit? We have an article about this coming out soon, but most importantly, we now have the dataset itself, organized and enhanced with new information from outside of the project team, most importantly from the libraries who have cataloged and even digitized some of the books. This array gives us a really neat look into the ways that the digital corpus has changed, as well as the different digital paths these manuscripts have had, and the many different ways that a book might be called digitized. As we move forward, we're working on a framework to incorporate more of the data from Imagining History into the set, but we're not looking to complete every category, and we're looking to use the messiness of the Brut corpus and our data to draw people in. Many of the manuscripts were works in progress, many contain texts other than the Brut. The Brut manuscripts lead into other digital collections, and indeed other fields of inquiry. We want to keep these pathways open, so that our data can speak to others as it grows. Perhaps it's best that we didn't make a single thing, as the collaborators around it are just getting started, and each member of the project team has brought, or is bringing, something new and different to the material. If you're so inclined, we hope that you do the same. If you think you might have a similar question or a use for our project data, please let us know, and thanks very much for listening.